Ladies and gentlemen, 2024 at first was not exactly how I expected it to be. Time has just gone crazy fast over the past couple years. Like, where has the time gone? But to be fair, a lot of interesting things, I should say, have happened this year. Let's start off with January. At this time, I was looking into helping out more at the stables, and so I started helping out with the Able Riders program, and that has been a pretty good success, I should say. The crazy odd coincidence, well, let's just say on that day, like the first day that I was helping out, let's just say I got a speeding ticket. I'm pretty sure you know which car it was in, if you've watched my videos. I took the Mustang and punched it. Yep, the Mustang. It wasn't too much, it was just a little over 80 and a 65. That was like a $200 ticket, nothing too bad. In February, I celebrated Valentine's Day with my ex-girlfriend. Not gonna talk about that. But we also went to Joshua Tree, and that was super fun. It was quite cold there though, even though it was February, so obviously. And then in March, we celebrated my sister's 18th birthday, and that was super fun. You know, we went to makeup stores on her birthday. That was very fun. And then we went out to Manteca and I got to see a thunderstorm there, so that was cool. April is where I had a lot of fun, I should say. Because in April, even though I couldn't see much though, we did get to see a little bit of the solar eclipse that happened. One of the last total solar eclipses in the United States until 2045, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm kind of jealous because my dad got to be in Texas in the path of totality. That was insane. Later that month, my dad actually was stationed for his new job in Orlando, so I got to go out and visit him for a couple days, so I had a super fun time with that. So I left Friday morning So I left on an afternoon, and funny enough, speaking of lightning, there was a thunderstorm that happened literally just a couple hours before I headed over to the airport to get over to Orlando to see my dad. So that was really funny, speaking of that. But anyways, it was super fun. The fun part, I was on a red-eye flight. And you know how red-eye flights are. They can be tiring, stressful. So, of course, it was red-eye to Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta, and then just a simple 1-hour hop over to Orlando. And I basically took off like 11 at night, was landing at 6 in the morning. And then I hopped over to Orlando. It was like 8 or something. Dad picked me up, and so we chilled for a while. My dad had to do some work stuff, and then we went out to this super fancy restaurant. That was really fun. However, if you saw the video, we totally paid about $500 there. My meal specifically was $50. Dad got a lobster tail, which was $85. Which, what's going on with you right now? Anyways, so after that, the next morning we go do a trail ride, and it was pretty fun actually. The views were so pretty. The horses were well behaved, obviously. And then after that, we went to this cool park called Desertland Park, and they have some awesome things there. They have bowling, they have go-kart racing, and I believe they're electric go-karts, which is why it was a little bit more interesting. But then I flew back the next day. And then in May, there was just like a spiral of events, so I'm just not going to talk about that. In June, we had the trip out to Atlanta. So basically, we went to Atlanta for another wedding because we had one 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago almost, I should say, because it was in July of 2022. I believe it was Connor's wedding. And then this one that happened in June, that was Patrick's wedding, if I'm correct. I'm trying to make sure. Alright, so anyways, it was a pretty fun trip. You know, we were out for a couple days, and that was our first time flying on Southwest. So it was pretty awesome because I liked being able to choose the seat that I want to be in, but Southwest is changing that system. Yeah, that's right. They're getting rid of the system where you're able to choose your own seat, so that means you're gonna be in reserved seats like most of the other airlines out there. And then in July, of course, we had Independence Day, and it was a pretty casual holiday, you know, fireworks everywhere. And that was the first time I actually recorded a video and put it on my channel in 4K 60 HDR, which I'm currently shooting. And then in August, we had a lot of fun. We had the Stables camping trip, and so basically we stayed 2 nights in Mendocino, and so we left with a bunch of stuff in 2 different trucks, and I believe it was a 5-hour drive, and stopped for Burger King on the way there, and then we stayed the night, we had a campfire, whatnot. And then the next day we do a 2-hour trail ride. That was super awesome. And the views are so pretty of the ocean. it was just super awesome. And then eventually, like, you know, we headed back. So as you guys might know, there have been a couple of device additions this year. And one of them, which is currently not with me, which I gave to my dad because you probably will have heard the whole story. Basically, for a couple months, I had my sister's old M1 MacBook Air. And that was pretty nice at the time, but the problem at the time was the battery was not even functional. But $173 later, I was able to get that fixed and back just a couple months in usage. And then, of course, I gave it to my dad. And then the other device edition, which I'm currently recording on, is my iPhone 16 Pro Max. And this is such an awesome phone. It can easily last all day. And it even lasted very surprisingly well when I was down at Disneyland just recently, but I'll get to that later. And then the fun part is we haven't really gotten a new car in forever. So in late August, we got a 2025 Mini Cooper, and that is such a nice car. It can do, I believe, 7 seconds 0 to 60, and it's a turbo car, so it's a 4-cylinder with turbo. This is stock, by the way. This is stock. Then in September, we had the Draft Horse Classic, and that was pretty nice. And that was one of the last times I was actually shooting with my old iPhone SE, which already had pretty bad battery health. It was down to 73%, until I later eventually got the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And another cool thing that happened this month, this is when I started working at Modern Aviation. And working at Modern has actually been pretty fun because you're getting to work around huge airplanes. I've gotten to be in the belly, and that's also pretty fun, but although the luggage is heavy, it's still not too much complicated of a job. It's very easy and otherwise pretty light work, and makes good pay too, which is how I've been able to afford some of the other stuff I've gotten, including something else. In October, we went to Pismo Beach with my grandparents, and that was one of the first vlogs I shot on my iPhone 16 Pro Max, and that was a pretty fun trip. Even though it was just 2 days, it was still pretty fun. And so, such pretty views. We even have a raffle that we entered, so we'll probably find out about that soon. I mean, I don't know if we'll win or not, but we'll see. And the other problem, so I told you guys about the Mustang. It was the one I got a speeding ticket in. Well, I was on my way to work the other day in the Mustang, and I was driving in automatic. I wasn't in the manual mode or whatever. And I went to push the gas pedal to ask for downshift to gear 3, but it initially downshifted to gear 4 at 4,000 RPM. And then bang, gear 3 at 6,500 RPM. Red line, and then revs out. Next thing you know, the car wasn't driving as well as it was before. Now here's the thing, the forward gears are currently working in the Mustang. The reverse gear is not. So it's obviously the solenoids, which I don't know how that relates to the car. I'd have to do more research. Here's the thing though, I have someone that I found recently who said that they can probably get the job done for a lot cheaper than if you were to ask like a regular shop. So that's something we might look into. And in November, you guys might know that I have a lot of storage drives. And well, one of the things that I got is this 10 terabyte hard disk drive. And this has been pretty smooth actually. I basically transferred from many multiple drives onto this drive right here. So this drive is like everything else combined. And then we had Thanksgiving, which I don't really have a lot of clips of, but a few weeks ago, we went to see Trans-Siberian Orchestra in concert. That was super amazing. However, I noticed that there were some weird issues when having the phone plugged in while recording, but I still got some awesome shots. In December, you guys might know, I got the M2 Mac Mini, which has been awesome. And we also went to Disneyland. I'm getting ready to post that vlog, so that will be out on Christmas Day. And as you can see, I recently got a new GoPro. This is pretty nice, you know. This can shoot up to 1.5 hours of 4K footage, basically as much as my SE could. Still pretty nice. This typically is listed for $399, but I was able to get it for only $300 online on Target. This is really nice, by the way. You can see here. And it can shoot 4K 60 HDR just like this iPhone can. I've taken a look. I can show you some of the footage I got earlier, so I'll put that on there. That's basically this year review. I do have some plans for next year. Next year, I'm going to do better. I'm going to improve that by this time next year, things are gonna look way different. And so with that, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next year.